So essentially, 666 for me is not just fear, okay? It can also be a human embodiment code. But the real question here is that is your mind, body, and spirit being ruled by distortion, which is the beast, right? Or restored by divine order? So mind, body, and spirit. When the mark is no longer fear, but Christ consciousness living in flesh, that's the simplest doorway to breath, to Yahweh, okay? Because every time you breathe, you are touching the logos. You are touching the breath of God when you're in alignment, okay? But many people, before they die, which is very sad, they never correct their breath, okay? Their breath and their breathing stays shallow, stagnant. They stay anxious because it's connected to the nervous system, and that nervous system stays dysregulated all the way up until death. Okay. Now that means that even when the mind believes, the body still signals danger, right? So that person died in an altered state of consciousness. That's why I always tell you guys, as a medium, 10:10 on the clock, as a medium, like when you ask me about people who have passed on, I'm not going to tell you some cheery story. People die at the same frequency that they lived on. I want you to let that sink in. Okay? They die on the same frequency that they lived on. So that RIP, rest in peace, how can someone rest in peace if they have not took out those roots, if they've never lived in heaven on earth, if they've never regulated their breath, if they never regulated their nervous system? What do you think is going to happen? Okay? What do you think is gonna happen? Right? That body still signaled danger all the way up until death. They never had the experience, right? So the living word cannot fully inhabit the temple. It didn't because they didn't do that, right? Bloodline patterns and your nervous systems are if your nervous system is very important, right? It is scripture, literally decoded through embodiment, through you living it out. Okay. It is a returning to Christ, not as a concept, but as a frequency in the body, because Eden is not a place you go. So when you ask me, are your people in heaven? I don't know. Were they in heaven here? They're going to have to go through the same process when they cross over. All right. Eden is a state you become. And whatever is not aligned with that, whatever is obstructing that, it has to be cast out, especially before death. And if the living knew what the dead knew, you would be flabbergasted. You would change your life today. You would do the right thing today because you're going to have to do it again anyways.